Chapter 2, Section 5 of Cup of Gold. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit Librivox.org. Read by Kurt from Tucson, Arizona. Cup of Gold by John Steinbeck. Henry had served 3 years, and though he was only 18, he was grown and strong. His crisp black hair seemed to curl more tightly to his head, and his mouth, from dealing with the slaves, was more firm than ever. He gazed about him and knew that he should be satisfied, but his eyes had never lost the trick of looking out beyond distance and over the edge of the present. A little hectoring wish ran through his waking and dreaming like a thin red line. He must get back to the sea and ships. The sea was his mother and his mistress, and the goddess who might command and find him ready and alert for service. Why, his very name in the ancient Briton tongue signified one who lived by the sea. Yes, the ships were calling to him cruelly now. His heart sailed out, away from him with every passing merchantman. In the big house he had studied and considered what navigation there was in books, and in the plantation's little sloop he had gone cruising in the near waters. But this was the play of a child, he thought, and it was not preparing him to be an expert sailor. It was necessary for him to learn avidly, for in the near future he must go a-buccaneering and take a Spanish town. This was the silver throne of all his desire. And so one evening, "There is a thing I should like to be speaking of, sir." James Flower raised his eyes from his book and laid his head back in the chair. "If we had a ship to carry our produce to Jamaica," Henry continued, "we should be saving a large deal in freightage. The cost of such a ship would soon enough be eaten away by the profits. Too, we might carry the produce of the other plantations at a smaller fee than the merchantmen ask." "But where might one come on such a ship?" James Flower inquired. "There's one in the harbor now, one of 2 masts, and—" "Then buy her and see to it. You know more about these things than I do. By the way, here's an interesting conjecture on the inhabitants of the moon. They may be totally unlike human beings," he read. "Their necks could easily be—" "It will be 700 pounds, sir." "What will be 700 pounds? You seem not to pay attention as you used to, Henry. Do listen to this paragraph. It is both entertaining and instructive." Henry careened the ship, and when he had scraped and painted her, he named her Elizabeth and put to sea. He had what is known as hands to a horseman, a warm feeling of the personality of his boat. He must learn the rules of navigation, of course, but even before that something of the spirit of the ship crept into his soul, and part of him went back to her. It was a steadfast love, a steady understanding of the sea. By the thrill of her deck and the smooth touch of the wheel, he knew instinctively how close he could bring her into the wind. He was like a man who, laying his head on his mistress' breast, reads the flux of her passions in her breathing. Now he could have run away from Barbados and gone to plundering in the staunch Elizabeth, but there was no need. His hoard was not great enough, and he was too young, and in addition he felt a curious, shamefaced love for James Flower. Henry was content for a little while. The lust that all men have in varying degrees, some for the flash of cards, and some for wine, and some for the bodies of women, was in Henry Morgan satisfied with the deck's lunge and pitch and the crack of canvas. The wind, blowing out of a black, dreadful sky, was a cup of wine to him, and a challenge and a passionate caress. He sailed to Jamaica, with the crops, and beat about among the islands. The returns from the plantation mounted, and Henry's box of coins was growing heavy. But after a few months, a dull, torturing desire came to him. It was the yearning of the little boy, revivified and strong. The Elizabeth had sated his old lust and left a new one. He thought it was plunder that called him, the beautiful things of silk and gold and the admiration of men, and on these his heart set more zealously than ever. Henry went to the brown women and the black in the slave huts, striving to dull his hungering if he could not satisfy it, and they received him, cow-eyed and passive, anxious to please. They hoped that of his favor they might receive more food or a jug of rum as a gift. Each time he came away with disgust and a little pity for their poor, hopeful prostitution. Once, in the slave dock at Port Royal, he found Paulette and bought her for a servant in the house. She was lithe, yet rounded, fierce and gentle in a moment. Poor little slave of the jumbled bloods, she was Spanish and Carib and Negro and French. The heritage of this rag-bag ancestry was hair like a cataract of black water, eyes as blue as the sea, set in oriental slits, and a golden skin. Hers was a sensuous, passionate beauty, limbs that twinkled like gold flames. Her lips could writhe like slender twisting serpents, or bloom like red flowers. She was a little child, yet old in life. She was a Christian, but she worshipped wood spirits and sang low chants in honor of the great snake. Henry thought of her as a delicate machine perfectly made for pleasure, a sexual contraption. She was like those tall, cool women of the night, who ride with the wings of sleep, soulless bodies, bodies of passionate dreams. He built for her a tiny vine-clad house, roofed with banana leaves, and there he played at love. At first, Paulette was only grateful to him for bringing her to a lazy, easy life, with comfort and days of little toil. But later she fell frenziedly in love with him. She watched his face like a quick terrier, waiting to jump with wild pleasure at one word or fall fawning in the dust at another. When Henry was serious or distraught, she was afraid. Then she would kneel before her little ebony figure of a jungle god and pray to the Virgin for his love. Sometimes she put out cups of milk for the winged Junjobi, which keeps men true. With the frantic, tender arts of her mixed bloods, she strove to hold him surely in her sight. From her body and her hair there came a rich orient odor, for she rubbed herself with sandalwood and myrrh. When he was gloomy, "Do you love Paulette?" she would ask. "Do you love Paulette? Are you sure you love Paulette?" "Why, certainly I love Paulette. How could a man see Paulette, little, dear Paulette, how touch the lips of sweet Paulette, and not be loving her?" And his eyes would go wandering to the sea below, seeking and seeking along the curved shore. "But do you surely love Paulette? Come, kiss the little breasts of your own Paulette." "Yes, surely I love Paulette. There, I have kissed them, and the charm is made. Now do be still a little. Hear the pounding of the frogs. I wonder what startled the old bearded monkey in the tree there. Some slave, perhaps, out stealing fruit." And his eyes would go wandering restlessly to sea. As the year went on, the soil of her love thrust up strong vines of choking fear. She knew that when he finally deserted her, she would be far more than just alone. She might be forced to kneel in the field rows and dig about the plants with her fingers, as the other women did. And then, one day, she would be led to the hut of a great Negro with powerful muscles, and he would bruise her little golden body in his beast's clutch and make her pregnant of a black child, a strong black child that could toil and strain in the sun when it was grown. This happened to all the other slave women of the island. The half of her mind that was very old shuddered at this thought, and that same old mind knew well that Henry would leave her one day. Then, to her child's mind appeared the doorway for the passage of her fright. If only he would marry her. Impossible it seemed, yet stranger things had been. If only he would marry her, then she need never fear. For those strange beings, wives, were, in some curious way, by some divine intent, shielded from ugly and uncomfortable things. Ah, she had seen them in Port Royal, surrounded by their men to keep foul contact off, breathing through scented cloths to deaden the vile smells, and sometimes with little pellets of cotton in their ears to stop the cursing of the streets from entering. And Paulette knew, had she not been told, that in their homes they lay in great soft beds and languidly gave orders to their slaves. This was the blessed state she dared to hope for, and her body was not enough, she knew. Often it failed in its soft potency. If she fed him full of love, he did not come again to her bower for a time, and when she refused him to make his passion mount, either he went sullenly away or laughed and flung her roughly on the low palm couch. She must cast about for some compelling force, some very powerful means to make him marry her. When Henry went away with Coco for Port Royal, she was scarcely sane. She knew his love for the ship, his passion for the sea, and she was furiously jealous of them. In her mind she saw him fondle the wheel with the strong, dear touch of lovers' fingers. Ah, she could scratch and tear that wheel which robbed her. She must make him love Paulette more than the ships, more than the sea, or anything on earth, so that he would marry her. Then she could walk haughtily among the huts and spit at the slaves. Then she need never think of grubbing in the earth or bearing strong black children. Then she would have red cloth to wear and a silver chain to go about her neck. It was even possible that once in a long while her dinner might be brought to her while she lay in bed, pretending to be ill. She wriggled her toes in delight at such a thought, and made up the insulting things she would say to one fat negress with a spiteful tongue when only she should be a wife. That old fat wretch had called Paulette a slut before a gathering. Paulette had pulled out lots of hair before she could be held with her arms to her sides. But still that black one should see. One day Paulette would have her whipped on the cross. While Henry was away, a trading ship came into port, and Paulette went to the beach to see the things she brought and to watch the wind-brown sailors come ashore. And one of them, a great broad Irishman laden with black rum, pursued and captured her against a pile of boxes. Strong and quick, she struggled to elude him, but he held her tightly, swaying though he was. "I've caught a fairy to mend my shoes," he laughed and peered into her face. Sure enough, 'tis a fairy. And when he saw that she was small and very beautiful, and he spoke tenderly and low, "You're a lovely fairy, lovelier than the eyes of me have ever seen. Could a slim little body like you be thinking about a great ugly hulk like me, I wonder? Come off and marry me, and you shall have anything 'tis in the power of a sailor to give you." "No!" she cried. "No!" and slipped under his arm and away. The sailor sat in the sand, staring dully before him. "'Twas a dream," he whispered. "'Twas only a dream from the spirits. There's no such thing to be happening to a poor sailor. No, for sailors there be pretty hags with sharp hard eyes to say, 'Come, money first, sweetheart mine.'" But now Paulette had found the way to make Henry marry her. She would contrive to get drunkenness on him, would trap him with wine, and there would be a priest nearby to come at her hushed call. Oh, surely stranger things had been. She laid her snare for him on his first night back from sea. a large stone flagon filled with Peruvian wine, and a priest, bribed with a stolen coin, waiting in the shadow of a tree. Henry was very tired. He had gone out short-handed and helped to work the ship himself. The little vine-clothed hut was a pleasant, restful place to him. A full white moon cast silver splashes in the sea below, and strewed the ground with scarves of purple light. Sweetly there sang a little jungle breeze among the palms. She brought the wine and filled a cup for him. "Do you love Paulette?" "Ah, yes, as God sees me, I love Paulette. Dear, sweet Paulette." Another cup, and still persistently. "Are you so sure you love Paulette?" "Paulette is a little star hanging to my breast by a silver chain." Another cup. "Do you love none other save only your Paulette?" I came longingly to find Paulette. The thought of her sailed on the sea with me, and his arms locked tightly around her little golden waist. Another, and another, and another. Then his arms fell away from her and his hands clenched. The girl cried fearfully, "Oh, do you love Paulette?" For Henry had grown morose and strange and cold. "I shall tell you of an old time," he said hoarsely. "I was a little boy, a joyous little boy, yet old enough to love. There was a girl, and she was named Elizabeth, the daughter of a wealthy squire. Ah, she was lovely as this night about us, quiet and lovely as that slender palm tree under the moon. I loved her with that love a man may exercise but once. Even our hearts seemed to go hand in hand. How I remember the brave plans we told, she and I, there, sitting on a hillside in the night. We were to live in a great house and have dear children growing up about us. You can never know such love, Paulette. Ah, well, it could not last. The gods slay happiness in jealousy. Nothing good can last. A gang of bastard sailors roved through the land and carried me off, a little boy to be sold for a slave in the Indies. It was a bitter thing to lose Elizabeth, a bitter thing the years cannot forget, and he was weeping softly by her side. Paulette was bewildered by the change in him. She stroked his hair and his eyes until his breath came more calmly. Then she began again, with almost hopeless patience, like a teacher questioning a dull child. "But do you love Paulette?" He leaped up and glared at her. "You? Love you? Why, you are just a little animal. A pretty little golden animal, for sure, but a form of flesh, no more. May one worship a god merely because he is big, or cherish a land which has no virtue save its breadth, or love a woman whose whole realm is her flesh? Ah, Paulette, you have no soul at all." Elizabeth had a white-winged soul. I love you, yes, with what you have to be loved, the body. But Elizabeth, I loved Elizabeth with my soul. Paulette was puzzled. "What is this soul?" she asked. "And how may I get one if I have not one already? And where is this soul of yours that I have never seen it or heard it at all? If they cannot be seen or heard or touched, how do you know she had this soul?" "Hush!" he cried furiously. "Hush, or I box your mouth and have you whipped on the cross. You speak of things beyond you. What can you know of love that lies without your fleshly juggling?" End of Chapter 2, Section 5.